The most damaging decisions are the ones you refuse to make. You're standing at a crossroads where every path leads downhill. Stay or go, speak up or stay silent, end it or endure it. Every option feels like a different kind of loss, a unique flavor of failure. So you stand still, caught in the crossfire, believing that inaction is safety. By the end of this, you will see that paralysis is the only option that guarantees failure, and you'll have a framework for choosing the move that sets you free, even when it looks like a mistake. You know the feeling, a knot of ice in your stomach. Your brain runs 1,000 simulations a minute, and every single one ends in a crash. One path leads to a cliff, the other, a swamp. A third path circles back to here, this miserable frozen moment. This is loss aversion on a system-wide scale. Your mind, designed to protect you from harm, sees harm everywhere. It slams on the brakes. The mental fog gets so thick you can't remember what a good outcome would even look like. All you can feel is the certainty of regret, waiting for you down every road. The core of this paralysis is a single, flawed assumption. You are still trying to find the right choice. You're searching the map for a secret passage, a path with no monsters, no tolls, no price of admission. You're operating as if this is a test you can pass. But you're in a situation where the rules have changed. The game is no longer about winning. The option to come out ahead, completely unscathed, was taken off the table before you even sat down. Your insistence on finding that perfect solution is the very thing keeping you trapped in the problem. The search itself becomes the cage. But if you accept that a perfect win is impossible, what's left? If every choice is a loss, is the only goal to pick your poison? Or is there a different game to be played entirely? On April 18, 1906, the ground beneath San Francisco tore itself apart. For 52 seconds, the city shook. Then the fires began. For 3 days, they burned, turning a modern American metropolis into 3,000 acres of ash, twisted metal, and rubble. The financial heart of the West Coast was gone. In the chaos, the city's bankers did what bankers do. They locked their vaults. They protected their assets. Many vaults were still white hot from the fires. Impossible to open without destroying the contents. Commerce ground to a halt. The city was paralyzed. In the middle of this was a man named Amedeo Peter Giannini. He was the founder of a small upstart institution called the Bank of Italy, a bank for immigrants and working-class people. Giannini got his assets out before the fires reached his building. He hid the golden securities under crates of oranges on a wagon and escaped to his home across the bay. Days later, when other bankers were waiting for their vaults to cool, Giannini had a choice. It was a terrible one. Option A was the safe professional choice. Do what every other banker was doing. Keep the money locked up. Wait for the city to stabilize, for insurance to pay out, for some semblance of order to return. Protect the institution. In a city of rubble with no functioning economy, this would mean his bank would survive, but it would be the king of a graveyard, a slow, guaranteed failure. Option B was madness. He could take his money back into the ruins and start lending. Lend to people who had lost everything. People with no collateral, no paperwork, no proof of credit. Lend based on a man's calloused hands and the look in his eye. He would be betting the entire future of his bank on handshakes and hope. It was an almost certain path to bankruptcy, a fast, spectacular failure. Both doors led to ruin. One slow, one fast. Giannini, standing in the wreckage of a city, reframed the problem. He stopped asking the question, "How do I save my bank?" He started asking a different question, a better question. Which action helps rebuild the system my bank needs to survive? He knew a bank is worthless without a vibrant community around it. So he made his choice. He found a barrel and a wooden plank, set them up on a pier in the busy waterfront, and put out a sign, Bank of Italy, open for business. He started giving out loans right there on the street, funding the reconstruction of San Francisco one small business, one family at a time. He chose the failure that had a chance of building something new. But Giannini was rebuilding a city. How does this apply when the rubble is your career, your relationship, your own life, and the only person you have to answer to is the one in the mirror? When you're facing your own set of bad options, you need to think like Giannini. You need to assess each choice for its information dividend. Some bad choices are dead ends. They teach you nothing. They simply prolong the misery. Staying in a job you hate, for example, produces no new information. A year from now, you'll just be a year older in a job you still hate. The information dividend is zero. Other choices, even if they lead to short-term failure, generate a massive amount of valuable data. Let's make this practical. You have two bad options in front of you. Forget the potential outcomes for a moment. Ask these questions instead. Which choice will teach me more? Which path forces me to develop a new skill, meet new people, or test a belief I hold about myself? Which decision, if it fails, will fail in a way that gives me a clearer map of reality? One path keeps you in a familiar room with the lights off. The other path may lead you into a wall, but in the process, you learn the layout of the building. Choosing to leave a stable but soul-crushing career for a riskier venture might fail. You might struggle financially. You might discover you're a terrible entrepreneur. The information dividend is enormous. You learn about your risk tolerance. You learn what you truly value. You're buying data with your discomfort. Critics might call this reckless, a foolish glorification of failure. They're missing the point. This isn't about betting the farm on a wild dream. It's about making the smallest possible move that generates the most learning. Giannini didn't give one man all the money. He made hundreds of small calculated loans. You take a night class. You start a side project that takes 5 hours a week. You make a small reversible bet on a different future. This logic is sound. It makes sense on paper, but your body is still screaming at you to stay put, to choose the familiar pain over the unknown. How do you override a survival instinct that's a million years old? The biological alarm bell ringing in your chest exists for one reason. You have fused your identity to the outcome of this decision. You believe that if this choice leads to failure, then you are a failure. If the business fails, you are a failure. If the relationship ends, you are a failure. This is the final lock on your cage. And here is the key. The decision is an experiment. You are the scientist. The outcome is just data. When a researcher's experiment disproves their hypothesis, they don't burn their lab coat and declare themselves a failure as a human being. They take the data, they say, okay, that didn't work. What does this result tell me? Then they design the next experiment. You must adopt this same clinical distance from your own life. This decision, this single move, is one data point in a career of thousands. It says nothing about your worth. It says something about your strategy. And strategy can be changed. This is the true meaning of agency. Agency isn't the power to bend the world to your will and guarantee success. Agency is the power to act, observe the outcome without judgment, and then act again. It's the permission you grant yourself to be wrong. Think about learning to walk. As a toddler, you stood up, you wobbled, and you fell over and over. You didn't sit on the floor and conclude that you were fundamentally broken, a failure at ambulation. Each fall was data fed directly into your nervous system. Your brain adjusted. You tried again. Your current paralysis is the adult equivalent of sitting on the floor, terrified of gravity, trying to mentally simulate a perfect, fall-free walk across the room. It's impossible. You learn by moving, you learn by falling. But knowing this, how do you take that first wobbly step? Here is the final shift in perspective. You've been trying to solve your current problem. The real goal is to choose a better problem. The options in front of you feel terrible because they exist within the framework of your current reality, a reality you've outgrown. Any move you make inside this box will feel constrained and painful. The purpose of the best mistake is to break the box. It's a down payment on a new set of problems. The problem of, I'm trapped in a stagnant career with no future, is a heavy, draining, passive problem. The problem of, I'm in a new field, I'm overwhelmed, and I have to learn everything from scratch, is an active, engaging, forward-moving problem. It is a much higher quality problem to have. You will never escape problems, but you can choose them. You can choose problems of growth over problems of decay. You can choose problems of motion over problems of stillness. Look at the options in front of you one last time. Stop asking which one is right. Stop asking which one avoids pain. Ask which choice buys you a better class of problem. Which path, even if it's harder, puts you in a position a year from now to be dealing with the challenges of building something new, instead of the misery of watching something old crumble. Which decision begins the work of reconstruction? That choice? That's the one. That's the move that gets the world to move with you. It's the first piece of rubble you clear away to build something that lasts. You're not just choosing a path, you're choosing a future you can finally live in. Make the choice. The work starts today.